Welcome, everybody, to Sketchy Ideas, the live point counterpoint video podcast where we illustrate and debate concepts surrounding leadership, business, and personal achievement in a way that may make you think twice before you implement that new idea you just learned all about on the interwebs. Welcome back. I am Michael Rampolla.
And I'm Brad James.
And today we're going to talk about the importance of staying on top of things, scheduling your priorities, and not letting anybody tell you where to go without your permission. But first, a word from our sponsors. Sponsors. I'm up. You're up. I'm up. I'll do it.
You're first.
Sketchy Ideas is powered by Spirity. As a business owner, you're responsible for the success of your business, but no one ever said you had to do it alone. Your team should also know the vision that you have for your organization, where you're trying to go, and the best way to help you get there. But as your organization grows, it becomes increasingly difficult for you as an owner to talk to each of those people and know what they're doing and maintain that alignment. That's why Spirity offers the one application-driven system for business transformation, because what got you here won't get you there. So if you're working to get to your foundation or growing or scaling, Spirity is here to help you realize the challenges. Reach out to us at spirity.com. Spirity, overcome your obstacles. That's for you.
And sometimes when you're that business owner, you feel like you have to do everything for yourself, including the marketing and the sales. And sometimes it's best to actually ask for help there, which Spirity often does. They recommend work with somebody who knows how to do this stuff. So even if you're the most organized individual on the planet, you still only have 24 hours in the day. And sometimes you forget to do things like post social media, build content, do things that are going to build your brand and pull in leads from top of the funnel and create connections for you. Maybe you don't have time to keep up with all of that. Well, that's where my creative team over at Cream City Marketing will help you out. They'll take care of the stress so you can do what you're best at, right? With quality content, quality ideas, quality marketing, gets you in front of the right customers at the right time and helps you close deals down the funnel. So if you need help, contact my friend Aaron over at Cream City Marketing at aaron@creamcitymarketing.com, and Cream City Marketing will handle the stress so you can do the rest.
Brad, being pushed down the funnel never sounded so exciting before. You made that actually sound like something I want. Which
it's like a slide. It's what most of our customers, clients say they're doing when they're going down the slides that we help them build. Yes.
They say fun. We were going down the funnel. Like they love it. They can't get enough of it. That's great. That's what we want.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Michael?
Well, Brad, I think I've just decided to dub you the world's most organized man. As a riff on the world's most interesting man. So
you're funny.
Brad isn't always the most organized, but when he is, he talks about it on Sketchy Ideas. So Brad, tell us.
I like it.
Thank you. So I know there are times that you are probably feeling more and less organized, and I'm guessing there's things that you do to put yourself in that space and get back into that space when you are feeling out of it. Look at me, I can't even align a light bulb to save my life. But you, Brad, you align many things simultaneously. You've got quite a few irons and I didn't say quite a few fires. How do you do it all, Brad? Or how do you figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing? Take us inside the mind of Brad James.
Well, I tried. So this, for those of you who aren't aware, Michael and Spirity had their Apex quarterly event last week. And if you haven't been to it, I would recommend you find a way to get to it. The next one is in September. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
It is second Friday of September.
So there you go. So put it on your calendar. It's typically, that one's in person, right? For the most part, or you're doing a hybrid type thing too, if you can.
We will make accommodations. If that's what you need to help you, we'll figure it out.
So it'll be a hybrid event. I would imagine a lot of people will be in person, a lot of people will be virtual. But here's the thing. It's extremely helpful if you listen to the last week's show where Michael and I were faux here. if you listen to last week's show, we talked about how to actually take planning and use planning to begin to apply things like the 80-20 rule or the 10X rule or radical brilliance or list a couple others for me.
It's 10X, 80-20, a 4-hour work week. You all have the numbers, right? 212 degrees.
Yep.
1%.
Yep. Yeah. So, and this is why, because it actually makes you take account with some goal setting for quarter 3 or the next quarter. And just to sketch this out, and Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially there's a sheet that we were given that was broken out where now you had it broken up into 4 quadrants, right? 4 columns.
You got it. Yep, exactly right.
All right. And up here at Spirity, they talk about your spearhead goals. Spear has an A in it. And so each of these then aligned with a different area. So this was specifically sales and acquisition.
Yes,
okay?
Exactly right. Yep.
So anything dealing with sales, marketing, you name it. The next one was dealing with, I didn't pull it out.
Cash flow.
Help me out here.
Cash flow.
Excuse me? Cash flow, right? This is everything finance-wise, right?
Yeah. Accounting,
Okay.
finance. Yep. Booking. What happened? What's going to happen with your numbers? Yep.
Third one was fulfillment.
Yes. Customer
In a way.
retention through loyalty. Yeah. Fulfillment.
Yep.
Deliver the product or service. Keep everybody happy. Keep them around. You got it. Growth.
And the last one was personal.
Growth and scale. Personal growth or business growth. You got it. Yep. Anything growth. More often than not, we put the personal in the 4th one because otherwise people make it number 5 or 6 and then it's off the sheet, which means you got to put your mask on too. You got it.
So if you're looking at this, friends, these were all goals and SMART goals. So go back to Brian. Do you know which episode that was? If not, please denote it. Your SMART goals. Please denote that episode in the show notes. SMART goals were these top, and then we broke down how to get there incrementally backwards, okay, for the quarter, all right? And so then this was helpful for me in preparing for today's event because I set some revenue goals here. I set some organizational cash flow goals here because as Michael said, I am managing multiple businesses across multiple groups of people, across multiple platforms and customer bases. And the one big thing that I've already talked to with my finance team over there is how do I build a scoreboard that helps to deal with the management of these things and the details, because accounting and cash flow is extremely detailed. And I want to make sure as we continue to grow that I can go back and look at the scoreboard every single week. Thank you, Brian. SMART Goals was episodes 1 through 3. So our very first episode. We're going to denote that in the show notes for you, but it's important to understand what we were doing here, okay? Fulfillment had some significant conversations with Michael about how to set up fulfillment, especially if you're talking about using a product or a tool or a course or something as part of your marketing funnel and how that would tie in. So, and then the last one from a growth standpoint had to deal with scaling and getting some more team onboarded to help with things. So scaling from an employment standpoint.
Yep.
But what this did for me is it made me look at our episode from the last few weeks when we were talking about the 80-20 rule and how to apply that in my daily activities. Okay. So I already had set some previous goals, specifically like in growth, dealing with like physical growth and physical health. So that fell into there. I dealt some revenue goals. I had some other things across the board previously for this quarter and quarter 1 of this year. And so what I did is I had to fold these goals that I had here, my customer acquisition growth, my cash flow goals, my fulfillment goals, and my personal and my growth goals for the business into my existing calendar. So another column, right? Nice. This is a 7-day work week. And just go with me here.
I'm with you.
So I took a reflection of that and I said, you know what? I need to get better and more effective at scheduling my day and be clear. So what I did is I broke out the core things for personal growth that fourth column.
Yep.
And I said, what do I need to make sure I do? And so I actually set up, I did a wake up time, in a wake up event in my calendar. And I listed out all the things that I need to do every morning for me personally. And I also did it at night. So I'm working on sleep hygiene this year. That's been a big thing for me. So I also broke it out in there and I listed it out. Be doing
the same. I might have to take a tip out of your book on that one. All right.
Okay. Nice. So, and I did that across every day of the week, at least the 5 days, the 5 work days that everybody works. Okay.
That makes sense.
Because on Saturdays, I end up using that as free time and my schedule gets off, but I still extended it. But I'm giving myself permission to bend things on the weekends as needed, since still figuring out the whole, growing up in life thing and enjoying it a little more.
I get that.
All right. But in here, in each of these events, I listed out my daily routine in the morning and what I need to be doing every night before I go to bed.
Now somebody's going to be like,
I listed out,
I know how to wake up. I know how to put on my pants. I know how to take a shower. Why do I need to put that into my wake up routine, Brad? That feels like overkill.
So these are actually things that if you look at high performance people, so Brendan Burchard talks about this, Arduna Arja talks about this. Like if you list out things that are what we think are normalized and you break them out into lists, like these are things that you just have to do. As you list them out, you become reflective of it and it mentally builds the cognitive ability to remember to do it in the habit. It also is your measuring stick of success each day if you do it or not. So you're actually beginning to measure whether or not you're hitting success in those days. Okay. So like wake up was, I wake up and I drink 2 glasses of water before I drink my coffee. I've got a whole slew of things, but do an inventory for yourself. Then at sleep, I actually set a time in my calendar because I'm really bad at going to bed.
Okay.
Really bad.
I'm listening.
Because I typically, friends, average about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, which is not good enough the older I get.
Same.
Brad needs a bedtime story. Yes, Brian, I do need a bedtime story. So here's your bedtime story. Before Brad goes to bed, it actually is. You ready for this? Before Brad goes to bed, make sure that earlier in the day, here, I have 2 things for my work day. I have prepped for the day.
Okay.
And I have closed and planned for tomorrow.
Okay. So you're bookending. So I've got double bookends here. I've got bookending my whole day, like my waking day, but I've also got bookending my work day, so to speak.
Yeah. And I did that because my workout is before here, right? Workout is before I prep for the day.
Got it. Makes sense.
Okay. And my close and plan typically happens before I like eat and nighttime activities.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay. So that's why I do it, because here's the thing. Even if you're going to a networking event, even if you're have an extended work day, whatever, if you're not doing this, you're going to forget day-to-day activities that you have to do. So I always prep and plan my day. Prepping meaning I reflect on the plan from the previous planning night before, and I go, okay, does this still exist? Because guess what? The world works on 24 hours, and my prepping time helps me recalibrate for the day.
Makes sense.
Reschedule, do things. And in there, for example, again, I have things like, do you still have scheduled time to eat?
Right.
Because I'm also bad at that. Like food is good. Food in the stomach is important to keep you going, right?
Very good. Yes. I had assistants who had forced lunch into my calendar, and I still thank them for it because it wasn't there. It was like, when I get a break, and she said,
correct.
No, other way around, bud. You make the time, because if you're not, same thing as you're saying, right? If you don't make the time, other people will take that time from you. So, yeah.
Yes, and Brian can attest. Brian can attest that sometimes if Brad's blood sugar is low, hanger,
no, not you,
comes in a little bit, right?
No.
Right, Brian? Yeah. No,
never. We can read sarcasm even in text messages. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, never. All right. So the point is look at this. This is even before I'm inside of my work day.
I was about to say, we're still getting warmed up. At that point, we're still warming. But before I'm better prepared to prepare, which feels very meta.
Well, it is, but it also, look at before the workday even starts. If I accomplish all of these things, hey, I've already accomplished a bunch of stuff. I'm already feeling good before work.
It's actually really,
If I work out,
great
I
brain
feel
science
even
right
better.
there. Yep.
Right?
Quick wins, momentum, accomplishment, motivation. Yeah.
So if I have wins before I get to the preparation, and knowing that last night at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, all of a sudden I got a slew of text messages or a slew of emails that threw a wrench in maybe the big deal that I'm doing or the project timeline or a client's upset or whatever, my head's in the right place.
My head's in the right place, and I've got that, and I don't have to worry about them in that moment because I know tomorrow I've got time set aside to evaluate and mitigate and plan and so on and so forth.
Correct. Now keep in mind that which leads to this point, right? This is a plan. If you remember what happened last week, we discussed the difference between planning and the plan. Okay. By the way, this is good, right? Like
this is good.
So we know where things are going, but that doesn't mean we won't have to pivot or change. All right. So now that I've done this, I'm in prep, I've rearranged my day. There are core things every day based on those quadrants, right? We know that sales and customer acquisition is number one. So I make sure to have that planned into my day every day, no matter what.
Because it's your number one priority. So if I don't, that's me reflecting, in my words, my spearhead. If my spearhead is customer acquisition, but I don't see that reflected in my calendar, my schedule, am I operating according to my priorities and my values? Am I letting somebody else? Am I being intentional? Right?
Yes. Yep. So
nice.
I, across this my time is at 9:15 a.m. and this is a 1 hour block every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday. Yes. Got it. So, and let me just put a little sidebar. There's a ton of power, folks, in the idea of routine. All right. I think you probably know this if you have a routine like this, but if you know that every day at 9:15, your body gets in those rhythms, the same way as your body gets in that wake up and shut down routine, your body gets in the rhythms of the mental routines of it's time for sales. It's time for customer acquisition. It's time to put my focus on my number one priority. There's a ton of value in that. And this reminds me of, real quick, so back when I taught high school, this is how I learned how to plan lesson plans, was make every day look in structure the same as the day before. Your students will get in that rhythm and their brain will start to activate to think about the right things at the right times of the day, which is really good positive psychology. So you're leveraging how you know the brain works to help your brain work better.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome. All right. Tell us more how to hack this thing. I'm loving this, Brad. Keep on going.
All right. So if we know that is critical time, right? Everything in black is essentially non-negotiable, right? And there's food time planned in there. Yep. There's food in here somewhere, but that changes also based on meetings, right? That's why I readjust in the prep phase. Okay.
Makes sense. Yep.
Now, when we begin looking at everybody, if you're a business owner, if you're a manager of a team, even if you're a young professional or a professional getting started in the world, you're going to have projects or sets of tasks that you have to execute every single day.
Yep.
Right? So you need to understand the amount of time that goes into it. Now, that being said, if you're a business owner, you're trying to offload all of that 80% that isn't part of the 20%. Yep. That gets you where you need to go, and knowing that customer acquisition and sales is the number one thing you need to do to feed your business to grow it, that means that most of the stuff you do during the week has to be sales driven. So what you end up finding in the rest of the week are things that are critical but are not always consistent, and they tend to be sales meetings, right? So I leave space and gaps in my timeline where I know there are always going to be availability for sales meetings. What that means, if I'm trying to figure out a distributor partnership, right? I need to talk to somebody. If I have a client conversation and I need to do a fact finder, I need to do a close, I need to do all that stuff. I plan standard time. And most of the time when that happens for me is I try to build it Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Okay. And then I will always highlight, so these are always solid times where those are available. And so I will always suggest these first when I'm on appointment calls, right? Because most of my sales time is still dials and outreach. So at least now I've got this. And if you're using tools like Calendly, this is also a good way to set things up for you to make sure that you're not giving up your time no matter what, right? The non-negotiables need to be blocked out no matter what. Now, that doesn't mean you can't overbook them. I want to stress so much that these are plans. The planning, though, is what makes this work more often than not. And the habitual regularity of it also means that the clients that I work with regularly get in the habit of my schedule too.
Wait,
you hear that?
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Are you telling me you're manipulating your clients to help you better help them?
No. Manipulation is not the word. I am leading clients to better serve them.
Okay, that sounded nicer.
There's a difference. Okay. So I'll add times in here for that. All right. Now, we all have regular things like projects and other stuff that need to be done. I will build time into my work week to do those, especially if they're regular, right? So I have a block every Monday afternoon that has to deal with marketing stuff, and it's multiple portions. Now, each of these blocks, I want you to understand, they're broken up into hour chunks, and I work for 50 minutes as much as I can. I do set a Pomodoro timer. I do it because otherwise you get stuck in the rhythm. And remember, the work week is a long week for many of us. And so built-in breaks in those hour blocks is important. Otherwise, what I found based on me, and if you don't need to do this, more power to you. But for me, I used to be able to work literally from when I woke up to when I go to sleep, straight through, no breaks, eat while I'm doing it. Can't do it anymore. I can't. It's very frustrating for me. Until I talked to somebody about this and they said, you know what, just plan in breaks throughout the day. So we test Pomodoro. We tested the hour and a half, the 45-minute blocks together with a 3-minute thing in the middle. We tested all of these different things, and a whole bunch of things matter. One of the things that I do to make sure that my day gets off moving is if I'm on the phone or I have meetings where I'm on the phone, I'm on my feet walking around.
Awesome.
That's why I have a stand-up desk. That's why I do some of the stuff that I do.
So
Thanks,
I also heard,
yes, age does play a part in this.
Thank you. I heard you say that you tried a bunch of different stuff. So
yes.
You applied. So it wasn't just like what we do. Hey, I just read about Pomodoro. Let me just make Pomodoro my thing, right? Or the 90-minute thing or the whatever. Like my hour-long meetings are now 50 minutes. Why? Because I just read an article in Forbes Coaches Forum. Right. Okay, cool.
Yep.
You actually figured out what works for you and matches a little bit of your biology, your psychology, your work practices, your needs as a business owner, et cetera. That all makes sense. So, and then you found a combination, kind of a hybrid ideal. It sounds like that's really honing in on what's necessary.
Yeah. Yep. You got to find what works for you, right? What works for me isn't going to exactly work for somebody else. But I will say this, more often than not, if you schedule at least your week out, it will work better for you than if you don't. So
this is true. Right.
Can
we go back to that again? If I plan and schedule my week, it's more likely to go well.
Yeah.
Weird. Yep. Magic you speak of. This is some sort of sorcery.
It's voodoo. Not sorcery, it's voodoo.
Voodoo, for the record.
Okay, so I build in blocks throughout the week to do work, right? Things that are critical, whether they're small blocks, right? Big blocks, right? And then I also, the rest of the time now falls in where there are weekly projects that come across my desk that have to get done, right? Just like with everybody. There are weekly things that you have to do, and I'll plan those in those blue blocks as well, okay? Now, so the last thing is everybody's going, well, what about
your calendar actually color coded like this? Like you're saying black, blue, red? Like you actually, I'm assuming you're leveraging
I try to, but I do have things overlapping. Okay.
Okay.
So we're getting there, right? Like,
all right.
So for example, those of you who understand that I do beekeeping, right? So Thursday morning is Brad the beekeeper. and that's a block. Now, I don't have to do that every week, but I leave it open to fulfill any other projects that might go along with it, right? So that I don't get way behind. So these are things where if you have long-term things or tasks that you have to do regularly, you build in time for them, but they don't have to be noted as busy, right? So that's the weeks that you have to. So like this Thursday, AKA tomorrow, I don't have to do it, but it's denoted in my calendar that that's my reminder every week to say, hey, one of these weeks you got to get it done. And then in the plan and the prep, right? At the end of the day, you're going, hey, I got to make sure I do this. So then I'll plan it and prep it, and I'll put it in this calendar event for prep when I have it across there for the next Thursday. Remember, today's non-negotiable, and I'll put it in the Wednesday. Remember, tomorrow you have to actually do beekeeping. Then you clear it all out. So my point, yes.
No, go ahead.
My point is with this whole exercise, by planning and building blocks, I'm remembering to do the things that I have to do, right? There are still things that fall through the cracks across everything. There are. That's where we leverage tools like Asana that are task-driven, and those tend to be the things that I try to offload, okay? I try to delegate those things first every single time when we bring on somebody new that can be delegated to. Because I'll go, in my weekly calendar, what are the things that are absolutely critical that I have to do? What are the things that we have process built around that I can delegate off to? And even better, is there something that there's process that I've trained somebody else to do that now I've had to come back to and somebody else used to do it? And maybe that person's still on the team in a different role. Can they train the person to do it?
Okay, so I think I want to call out something for our audience that if we don't, I'm knowing that they're all high achievers, of course you are, that might be otherwise lost. Brad didn't say he puts everything in the schedule. Part of the planning time is evaluating which things go in and which things get put out, delegated out to somebody else. Part of planning time is deciding time, evaluating time, prioritizing time. So I'm going to call out triage and delegate. So Brian will surface our episode about delegation because Brad knows, back to our 80-20, some things have much higher value and much higher criticality than others. And if he's not careful, I'm guessing I can see this tool or this approach being unintentionally misapplied. Somebody goes, okay, I'll fit it all in then. No. Nope. You're doing it wrong. Don't try to fit it all in. That's backwards. Put in the important things and then look at everything else. And when new things come up, evaluate them against the things that are already there. So there's a discipline for sure in the creation of this. There's also a discipline in the following of this.
Yes, lots of discipline, of discipline. And guess what? Sometimes it's really hard when meetings go long like it did right before this show. So I had a meeting right here. Sketchy Ideas is right in the middle here, right? That's a regular thing. So in my calendar, it is a standard thing that's been there forever. And right before it, I had a red meeting and it went long. And so then you kind of get thrown off and things get condensed, but that's where you got to be willing to pivot. And I know that there was something else. This meeting was only supposed to be a 15-minute meeting.
Of course.
Yes, pivot. It's as if I was carrying a giant couch and rounding a corner up a New York apartment stairway. Yes.
Got it. So what the other thing I'm hearing here is, so this is not as easy. I mean, in a good way, I think you're making it sound easy. It's the following it that kind of becomes the challenge. And I think
that's where people lose it. They plan their week. And then like human beings, they go,
wow, that's a lot to do.
And it's like, yeah. And in my mind, that's why you take it one day at a time.
Which is why every day has evaluated and just built in. Yeah.
The critical things are layered in there no matter what. And as a business owner, I have learned, I didn't always used to believe this, but I've learned that this stuff and this stuff is way more important than anything in the middle of the day.
Could you say that again, Brad?
Yeah. The stuff before I go to work and the stuff after I'm done with my scheduled work. That doesn't mean sometimes I don't go over into my stuff after work, right? Sometimes I do work into the night. I plan it, I communicate it, it's clear. But this after work and before work are more important than what happens in between those things.
See also the 80-20 rule. Here it is, folks. We said 20% makes 80%. Planning and preparation is in the 20. Planning and preparation, setting yourself up for success is the key to the success. You can only get lucky for so long, kids.
So it's funny that you bring that up, because everybody's like, I got to prepare my staff and my employees and my contractors for success. And I got to set up the plan. I got to organize it for them. I got to do all this stuff. And then we say, are you doing that for you? They're like, well, I don't have time to do that. And I go, is that a little bit of a pointing, looking in the mirror?
What about me? Yeah. What about me? What am I doing for me?
Right. Like, if you're not doing it, I talk about the oxygen mask analogy that everybody should be familiar with in some way, shape, or form. I have learned that it is very true. It rings true. And I did for like 8 years, was the guy who was like, no, I'll sleep later. I'll do it later. And I'd run myself ragged. And now, hey, friends, I'm young comparatively to a lot of people like out there in the world.
Thanks.
I've got a lot of time left, but there are more days where I feel old. Thank you, Brian. Debatable. Thank you.
Yep.
Our producer, Brian's a comedian today.
He's on it today.
What I'm saying is that like, as you get older, this becomes way more important to continue productivity. And if you talk or if you follow anybody that you're following, that's a celebrity business person, entrepreneur, they're doing this.
Oh yeah.
Every single day.
Oh yeah.
That's why they've gotten to where they're at. That's why they tout this stuff often. And they're having people help them with specific delegation. Yes.
Right.
And they're letting people support them in that process. But they still know, I have to have this, I have to have this. I have to have family time, I have to have workout time, I have to have eating time, and I have to do sales more often than not, or some type of sales activity, right?
Yep.
Now, sales activity doesn't mean building the sales thing. It means sales activity or activity marketing. That's the working in the sales process in some way, shape, or form. Building it should be at the bottom of that list to help you scale that activity. It should not necessarily be the first thing you do. If you need help, that's where you bring in somebody like Aaron to help you figure out what that activity needs to be.
Right.
That's why you work with a marketing agency. That's why you work with coaches. That's why, like, I have a finance team. I've got Aaron at Cream City Marketing. I've got Michael who helps me with goal setting. I've got a coach who helps me with like swimming in the workouts when I wake up in the morning. I have a lot of people making decisions for me just so I can do the activity.
Takes a lot of people to make Brad look this good, Fiegel. I mean, just for the record here.
Yeah. I've got Brian who tolerates me and like somehow figures out a way to make me look good on camera. You know, he makes me look like I've dropped, 20 pounds.
Orient the dimensions.
Yeah,
so
he squishes my face.
Just a little bit. I heard you say it, and I'm glad you called it out because I was on my way there too. You heard Brad say quite frequently, I didn't figure this all out at once. I didn't figure this all out on my own. Which means Brad is recognizing, I know I've figured out over time what I'm best at, and also where other people are best and where they can help me and be helpful and get us all doing ourselves at our best. So self-care is in there. Asking others for help is in there. I'm going to give one last shout out before we hit the wrap here. You reminded me of something that a friend of mine says all the time. Her name is Johanna. She's a Quickening Wellness. One of her best insightful questions is, what is preventing you from doing for yourself what you're so good at doing for others?
Yeah.
And I'm just throwing that out there because I love the power of that question. And I want to give it out to our audience too. What is preventing you from doing for yourself what you do so well for others? And that's the place that you can and should look for support next. If we can be a part of that support, we'd love to be. If it's not us, let us know who you need, because hey, we'd love to connect you to those people. that is how we like to serve as well.
Yes. Yep.
There you go. There's our wrap for that. We're gonna put it there. I feel like there's a next episode. I don't know exactly what this is going to be. So folks, in the comments, tell us what's the next question you have. What's the follow on for this? We'll be responsive on this one. Tell us what we should talk about next. That's going to help you take Brad's idea of scheduling your priorities to the next level. Let us know what you need. We want to serve and support you. So with that, we're going to close it out. You had just learned all about scheduling your priorities, making sure that you have a routine that works for you to put you at your best so you can be at your best for others. In next week's episode, we'll be responsive to you. You tell us what you need to grow and scale next, and we will be happy to serve and provide that. You can send us your questions at info@sketchyideashow.com or drop your comments below wherever you happen to be watching this feed, whether it be on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and or Twitch. And we'll be happy to respond to you there and pick it up from there as well. Yes.
Or on your favorite podcast syndicate.
Thank you. Or on your favorite podcast syndicate, because we're syndicated. I think that's a good thing. Come back next week when we go over more sketchy ideas live and in service of you. And remember, just because it's a sketchy idea doesn't mean it's not worth exploring. See you again next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Take care.